We can set you up wherever you want to be, wherever you want to stand. I'll just move the camera over there. Gonna make sure I'm ready. And video recording's okay, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let me make sure I'm doing that. Last time I forgot, and that was not fun for the YouTube folks. Do you want to mind like flipping through slides?
Do you mind if I
was gonna. Oh yeah, do you want to?
Yeah,
for sure. You're on our part. Okay.
like it'll be a little more seamless than next slide.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, we had it when I was in charge of this. We had a speaker that was like, next slide, please. You spoke very firmly. I'm like, you scared me. All right, cool. All right, cool. All right, and then let me know if you need anything from our end. Let me take photos. All right.
Do I hop over?
Yeah. So it and if you click, perfect. You should be able to. Yeah. You can also use the arrow keys now.
Cool.
All right. Cool. Well, let's give a warm welcome to our guest speaker today.
Hello. Thank you.
For coming. And,
Appreciate it.
I'll let you do an introduction about yourself.
Thank you, Tyler. Well, I'm super excited to be here, you guys. I love this room so much. I miss it. So yeah, I'll be talking about the evolution of creativity with me. Yep. I'm a high school ceramics and art teacher. I went to Sac State here and I graduated in 2020. I was co-president of GRIDS at the time. And it was really, really fun. So yeah, a little more into who I am. So I'm 28 years old, which for my students, that's only like 10 to 12 years older than them. So it's a unique age to be in regards to like having students that are not that much younger than me. Especially because my high school experience wasn't necessarily my favorite thing ever. I'm from Sacramento/Clarksburg, if you know, south of West Sac in the river. I grew up on a walnut orchard down there. Definitely grew up as like a horse girl in the dirt and all that stuff. So had an awesome time in that area though. And then went to Christian Brothers High School, which was an interesting experience for sure. Came to Sac State after I did 3 years at community college, which was really, really essential. That's really where I discovered that I was actually an artist. Prior to that, I didn't believe in that myself or like in art as something that I would want to do for like a career. So then coming to Sac State, everything just kind of like opened up for me in a big way. After Sac State, after a few years after that, I went back to school, went to UMass Global, which is just online school. And I got my teaching credential and my master's of art in teaching secondary education. Now I teach ceramics and art. Here's my little family I got going. That's my cat Odin, and then my partner Andrew and his daughter Cadence. They are everything and they're adorable. So really what I want to be talking to you guys about today is just creativity in general. And so to preface that and how it applies to problem solving, which as we know, the Sac State Design Program theme is a lot about process and problem solving. Generally, creativity is defined by Oxford Dictionary as the use of imagination or the original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work. My own personal definition aligns a bit more with Saul Bass. Design is so much more than fancy graphics. It's problem solving. And then below, creative problem solving is the absolute key to creativity. Creative problem solving is key. So that's what I'm striving to teach my students currently. And we go through many different phases of that. As you know, high schoolers are very, very hormonal. They feel a lot of things. So sometimes when they get confronted with things that are tough for them to do, inspiring them to like attack that in a positive way with a problem-solving mindset, and like embracing failure basically is kind of what I do on the day-to-day. So creativity manifests in your lifetime in like so many different ways. There's so many things that happen in our lives that have impacts on our creativity. While I was in the design program here, I had a significant loss. Both my grandparents passed away within 2 weeks of themselves. And then not quite a full year later, my best friend in the program took his life. And so that whole experience really significantly impacted me as a creative, and rebuilding my confidence after that through design was an interesting kind of path. And then really finding that in what I'm doing now, and things like that have been really, really healing for all of those things. But that dip, that was definitely me at that time. And then you always go back up, down, da 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 da. Feel free to ask me questions anytime too. I'm super open to conversational kinds of presentations. For Sac State, like I said, I wasn't really into art. In high school, I literally hated art. I didn't want to be a teacher because my mom was a teacher my whole life. So I was just very against both of those things. It was CRC that kind of brought me to that, which this is a project from my time there. It was like one of my first big drawing projects. And then I ended up in the student showcase for that school year. So having that opportunity, being seen by somebody else, and like being respected for the art form that I was learning and things like that was really, really big for me. I had to do a lot of accepting because I was still very much like, how do I make money and do art? Hence graphic design. And so that's where, because I didn't want to be a teacher, right? I was still like, nope, I refuse. I will not make money being a teacher. So let's do graphic design. I had a very interesting design teacher at CRC. Didn't love her, didn't love the class. Had an internship shortly after that, was like, really cutting paper is what graphic design is. Like, are you kidding me? No. But I continued to pursue it. And then as soon as I got to Sac State, or even like the photography program at CRC, was when I kind of started feeling like the spark of excitement about something. Here's one of my first projects from the design program with Mr. Esioko, professor, my bad, stuck in the high school lingo. I was calling people professor so many times. Like when I first started teaching, they were like, wrong age group, wrong everything. So branding, yep, love it. I started up a club, which prefaced my GRIDS involvement. This was during my pre-design year, started a club with a bunch of friends, designed some cool stuff. Had zero idea what I was doing. Yes, that's impact.
So fire.
I own it. I got a job at what was Repro Graphics, is now Print and Mail. Was a design intern there, and so I had access to all their printing stuff. So the type catalog or booklet that we had to make for the first type class in the first year, I went really hard and I made it like a really cool magazine. Still one of my favorite pieces ever. A lot of flaws within it. Always check your page numbers, okay? But super fun. And then I got more involved in like music and stuff like that too. It was just really exploring my own personal style, as well as in my artistic style. Soft Kill is a band from Portland. They're like alternative rock. And so I got to see them live. And I was still doing digital photography at that time from my experience at CRC. So I shot one of their shows, and my lens had like this leak in it. And so all the pictures had all these like light leaks and stuff in it. Hi, Paul. And so, yeah, this was really cool. I was like, get really excited about graphic design at this time. I was like, some people are making me cut paper, but I am making something cool looking. Poster series. Do you guys still do this? The gig posters? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, this was like one of my favorites. Did I mention I like music? So got to do these, explored. It feels like now that I have such a base in studio art, which I didn't at the time, like exploring all of the elements of art and stuff, I can really identify all of those. Textures always been like one of my favorites, and creating visual textures, which now looking back on these, which this was from 2019, I still like it. I still like it, which is rare in a way. Dracula book design, got really into glitch art. One of my good friends, John Horton, he had a show hung in the Union Gallery. And I was working for the lab / the Union Gallery because there's like a conglomerate. And so I got to hang a show with him, and he just showed me all of his realistic glitch paintings that he created. And then I just went crazy with it. So there's some altered photos there. I still have this big dream of designing the typeface for the whole thing and actually printing the physical copy one day. I love physical things. And so I really want to do that one day. Pictures Master Photography Series. Do you guys still do this project? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I love this one. And I had Pratt at the time. And so Pratt actually became like a huge impactful mentor for me over the course of the program. And so getting to do this project in his class was really, really fun. And I also did Dracula in his class. So yeah, some of my favorites. Spring show, like kind of campaign. This was for senior spring semester. This is right when everything started getting really chaotic for me. So just within my personal life, it was a really fun project. It was really hard. This was one of my first projects. Actually, it was within this, I think, like the little die cuts that I had put in the envelope, I put them like in the brochure that I made. And it was not the best idea. It was just kind of like shot in the dark. And like I got shut down like one of the hardest times. So SEOCO hit me down harder while I was a pre-designer, and I'll never forget that. But that was such a big one because I was so attached to it, which don't need to be so attached to it, which that mentality has definitely become a running theme in my life, especially through my design career. I was always super attached to everything, and that'll kind of come into play as to where I'm at now in a little bit. The official group branding project, we did an like 80s neon themed ice cream. And this was right when we switched to online school. And so creativity dip for me right here. Did my best. I definitely had like a lot of my own personal interests implemented into it. And so I feel like it just kind of fell short, but it's all good. Vintage. Did this in Richard Pratt's class. This is one of my all-time favorite pieces. This is the typeface that I want to expand upon and put into Dracula. It was inspired by Dracula. You can see sorry to zoom, but the like little points everywhere. It's just to get vampire teeth. And the story itself is really ominous. I'm sure you guys have seen Nosferatu, the new one. I still haven't seen it. Is it good? Have you seen it? Yeah? Okay. Gotta see it. I gotta get out more. It's weird being a teacher. That is the textures based off of a picture of a vinyl record spinning. So going for the vintage. Kitchen. Back to my kind of 80s neon theme that I was in, that mode that I was in. This was so much fun to make. I still love this one, how much energy it has within it. And then I have no idea what the texture is. Actually, no, it's a picture of my salt lamp that I altered in my Photoshop, in the Photoshops. And then I made them on a skateboard, which is really cool. So Professor Pratt has one of those boards. My brother has one of those boards. John Horton has one of those boards. My sister, I printed a bunch of them. And so it's amazing. That was my first time really like making art in my own opinion, even though it was graphic design based. I actually like physically gave it away to people and things like that. It was a very inspiring to myself like moment. This was at the end of my senior year. So like end of 2020 kind of. But things were not the most positive. So it was really cool to have this kind of really igniting like an artistic flame within me, which I didn't really have before. Because at this point, I still didn't really consider myself an artist. made some label packaging for it, which I would love to keep making these and expanding upon it. Went to Adobe Max. I'll never forget that experience. That was insane. Took like half of GRIDS with us, and it was a time. We had like 19 people in one tiny Airbnb. We were out all day. Like, if you ever have a chance to go or even look into the online stuff that they provide, it's just really cool. It's really inspiring. And it helps you kind of keep up to date on the design trends and stuff that are going on. So any questions about my Sac State stuff? Okay. So afterwards, when I started freelancing and getting more into the corporate world of design, did this little logo for my friend John Horton, who I keep talking about, the glitch artist. He had like a weird experimenting moment where he wanted a bunch of his friends to make a bunch of logos for him to see what he could do with them. So proud of this one. It was like my first logo collab that was outside of class. That was really cool because he would do a little bit, I would do a lot of it, and then he would do a little bit, and then kind of back and forth. But nothing really came of that. It's okay. Made this as a postcard for a little store thing that like a little pop-up store, which this was really cool. I was really into, again, the 80s dance stuff that was going on, a lot of ballroom and voguing and shapes in movement, which I didn't really realize my whole life. Like as a little kid, I did a lot of like dancing and stuff, playing, you know, and then you go through a time where you do sports and like high school things, and kind of I came back to that dance persona or person in 2020. So this one was really, really reflective of that, which I still love this one. And then here's the little postcards. It's a woman-owned wax business in downtown called Beehive Waxing. And so I went with that like very feminine look. There's a little masculine feminine with the one on the very right. And then we sold like 3 at that time, which is more than I thought. And then we got into cannabis. I went into a cannabis manufacturing company as a label maker. So I had the qualifications as a designer. I didn't know anything about the legal stuff in regards to what I would be doing. And if you're familiar with any cannabis products, they have these things called COA labels. They're compliance labels that the state of California has to approve in order for you to do it or sell it and all these things. So this is how they looked when we got there. Super cute. And then I started to incorporate the brand. So it was like this like micro dosing of these brandings moments with all these COA labels. And I was printing all these labels. I would print like 15,000 at a time. Sometimes the machine would break. Sometimes the machine would be printing for an hour, like blank. And then you have to reprint everything. It was just got very, very familiar with printers over the course of my time doing all my different jobs. And now I just deal with like the public school printers, which are just as annoying. So anyways, got to decorate some that were specific for the company design some like after a certain amount of time. I did maybe 3 or 4 months of just the label stuff. And then they started seeing what I could do. They started bringing me on to bigger projects. But this is kind of when I started a dip in my creativity within design, because a lot of my projects, although like some of the ones I was given were amazing, and I'm giving you kind of a highlight reel. A lot of my projects died, like in production. I would be working on it for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, have something really, really cool, ready, all these mock-ups, all ready to go, present. And then the like director or whatever would be like, oh, we killed that project like 3 weeks ago. It's like, oh, so a weekend it was done and no one told me. So then I felt like a lot of my time was wasted. I wasn't being respected. It was a toxic environment in general. So it's kind of all culminated into like a plummet. for me and my relationship to graphic design, especially because before I had a lot of iffy and bad experiences freelancing. I have had good ones. It's not that they're all bad or anything like that, but I just unfortunately had a lot of bad ones. But this is one that made it. This is a tiny little mock-up box that I made. So I got back into cutting paper. I got to like physically show them, this is what it's gonna look like. And like seeing the look on these people's faces, because it was so normal for me to make it, because I would need to see it in real life to know exactly, like you guys get it. They would be like, you made this little box just to show us what it might look like. This is cool, this is amazing. And so I would do it for all of them. And so, yeah, I'd be in there with my little X-Acto blade, like cutting. I had like this little tiny mat cutting all these little boxes. But yeah, this is for resin and rosin, things like that. So I did all the different labels, all based off of that really psychedelic picture of the THC diamonds, which was just like a very close up of it. And then this is real life size. And then that's one of my favorite labels that I made. I thought the contrast was really good. A strange theme for me throughout my like design career was blue and orange. Like couldn't stand blue and orange forever. So it just kept popping up in my life. I was like, oh, I love that. I don't know why. Made some more labels. So I didn't do all of the branding stuff for this one. It was just the like little tiny labels, like the grape gummy towards the bottom. It was a foil label. We got involved with the label maker that was close by the shop, or the huge manufacturing company. And so that was really cool working with a printer, like offsite printer, got to go visit. They make a lot of beer labels and things like that. So they had tons of different paper options, which I was like, show me the paper options. Had some fun with the EPC barcode. Started putting the little leaves in there. It was cool because some of these things, they were like, wow, I wouldn't think of that. That's amazing. But then the next day they'd be like, stop doing all the work you've been doing. It was just weird up and down. Employee store announcement poster. Got an iPad. Started using Procreate. Started getting into drawing a little bit. Was absolutely terrified of it, which is interesting because I'm much more of a physical, in real life type person. So pen and paper, or pencil and paper even, is connects with me a lot more. So having the iPad, it was just like a nice flex on everybody, but I didn't know what I was doing. Procreate stuff kind of don't. This is one of my favorite pictures from there. I got moved from this tiny office in the back up into the front office. We called it the fishbowl because you could see everybody. It was really uncomfortable, but I managed to get myself in like up against a wall in the back, with that wall literally. And then, so I felt like I had a little bit of my own personal room. And then I would just like throw up all of my ideas on there every single day. And so that was really fun. I miss having a big space like that. I just have a chalkboard in my classroom, so I do not like the feeling of that, and so I rarely use that. But yeah, this process is so much cooler. So any questions about like my freelance or corporate design experience? Cool. Sorry, my bad.
Did you network to find those jobs? Did you just kind of like came up and saw listings, or?
Yeah, so networking was kind of the only way I got anywhere for a time, but it was networking in places that I didn't know were going to be opportunities. So I heard about this job through a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who I was weightlifting with at the time. She was in a nursing program at Davis downtown, and then hanging out with a group of them, made friends with one of the girls there. Then her friend had a birthday, so I went with her. And then one of their friends was this guy, Noah. And I met him. Him and I vibed super quickly. He's a really cool guy. And then I didn't talk to him for a really long time. And because we had hung out random times, like me and the other girls and stuff like that. And then at the end of 2020, I just hit him up randomly, and he was like, "Oh, funny enough, we have a label printing position at this brand new cannabis manufacturing company that just opened, that I just started working at. I think you'd qualify for it. Like, you don't." I was planning to apply to grad school at the end of 2020, but 2020, and so yeah, but I had no idea, right? Like, this random ass person would link me to a full year's worth of like legitimate design experience. So always be kind to everybody, and don't be afraid to talk about your positives or things you're passionate about. The most interesting thing about a person is not the most interesting, but a very interesting thing about people is what they're passionate about. You know, you get to see them light up, you get to see them like move differently and express whatever it is they're going to express about it. And so don't ever be shy about what you're passionate about. Even if the person doesn't want to listen to you, the next person sitting next to them might be listening. So, but networking is everything in a way. That's how I got my teaching job. My mom was a teacher in the district forever. I know the principal he knew me when I was an itty bitty. I don't know if like you can network as a baby, but that's kind of how it built up. He found out that I was like into teaching or getting into teaching, because I didn't even have my credential at the time that I started teaching. Yeah. Answer the. So, and beyond graphic design, I had a midlife crisis, moved to Mary's, like after I quit my design job, because I was just like, they fired my best friend there. It was like all this drama, crazy BS that happened. So my boyfriend moved to Marysville, which is like Yuba City, which is north of here, not all the way to Chico, but just far up enough. It is not my favorite area of the world by far. Moved there, started working at a bakery because I needed money. And so that was culture shock in a very unique way. I got to decorate cakes, which was artistic in a way, but a lot of the things I was doing was making pies, cream pies, and selling cookies, dealing with the public that drives down Highway 99 every day. It was and just unlimited amounts of Karens. It was significant for my customer service. And then I decided I wanted to become a teacher in some capacity, so then we moved back to Sacramento. I started working at Pet Supplies Plus as a pet store worker. I forget my actual title, but I was just slanging tons of dog food every day. I got to meet a lot of old cat ladies, which was very revealing because I have a cat myself. And I'm like, I only want one forever and ever. Held a lot of reptiles. Just got exposed to like a different type of corporation. And this experience made me realize that it doesn't matter what the face of the business is. Every corporation is the same. They're always after the same things. I don't want to get into what those are. I think we all kind of know what those are. So just be cautious, take care of yourselves no matter what you do, where you're at. Anyways, that's my mom. Amazing teacher, 8th grade US history. She would do the DC trips every year. I don't know if all of your school districts did that, but yeah, I went with her a few times. But her energy in the classroom, I had witnessed since I was very young, because that was like my after school daycare was going to her classroom. So like I would joke with like people when I first started teaching that like I've been in a classroom longer than I've been alive, like as a stupid joke. But it's just so real to me, like what it's like being in the classroom. Definitely not in the college classroom though. That is a very different vibe that I would have to get differently used to in the future if I decide to pursue being a professor in some capacity. But she's everything. She inspired me so much. Her bond with the students was very realistic. Like she's very herself to them, and so she presented a very doable model for me to kind of step into, which I didn't know was something that like not everybody has. And so when I started teaching, everybody, like I didn't have my credential. I started my credential program in the April before the August in which I started teaching full time in a classroom. Most times teachers go through either an unpaid semester as a student teacher, which you do like a fraction of the work, but you're still very involved, or they do a paid internship where you're basically a teacher, but you have a support system. They just put me in there. I got a special credential because the springtime was supposed to be my internship time, but it just, I was supposed to have a teacher in there with me all the time. And like after the first day, my mentor teacher, who I'll talk to you about in a little bit, he was like, oh, you don't need any, like you're good, which was so foreign to me because it wasn't anything, I didn't realize how naturally it was coming to me. And that's kind of a theme with all of the different things, right? Did I major here in ceramics? No, not even in studio art. I took a sculpture class. We touched clay one time for one little project. But like, I didn't know, I took ceramics as a senior, but I was so like imposter syndrome. It was so nuts. Like, and all they kept saying was like, you just have to be 5 minutes ahead of the kids. And that became something that I just like literally lived, still kind of to this day, because I'm still adjusting and tweaking in my second year. But yeah, the way it came so naturally to me was something that really started to show me like, okay, yeah, I can probably do this kind of thing forever. And it's not the like sexiest job, the pay really sucks, but retirement's good. And get a lot of control. And I've always been somebody who believed so deeply in my education. And it's something I got here. When Mario was like, process, you have the process brain, like all you, us, everybody who graduates from here as alum, whatever, like our brains are so valuable. Like that's one thing I really appreciate from the program that I was taught was how much I could trust my brain and how my brain would think about things. So that's kind of where I felt like being in the design realm, like I didn't have enough control because I still needed that paycheck. These schools give me a paycheck no matter what. Like I don't teach the standards. I could show a movie every day if I really wanted to. That's how like much they don't care. That's how much control I am in of this whole thing. And so it's weird and it feels kind of insane to even like say it like that, but like I know I can trust myself to do what's best for the kids. So like they need to trust me, that kind of thing. Like I trust my education. It just all kind of like dominoes back. Anyways, my department is so much fun. We are the visual arts teachers. It's like the greatest things ever. So this was last year. We did a surprise at the seniors day. All the teachers wore inflatable costumes all day. And like we did like a little march around campus during the lunches and stuff like that. And like it was just so much fun. It was just ridiculous. This is my like favorite group of students from last year. To get your teaching credential, you have to prove to the state of California like 30,000 times that you're capable of doing it. So I had to do a lot of recordings and a lot of like extra teachery stuff in order to cover all my bases. And like this group of kids will forever go down as like just a very solidified memory, positive, supportive group. Like they didn't really know me by the time it was second semester. Yeah, they got to know me a little bit more, but like they really went above and beyond for me in a couple different ways. And they love the inflatable costume because I mean, you know. And then this other group here, the boy and the girl. I have the boy again for art now. And he's from Alaska. He's like super unique. He's super positive. He's super smart. He's like kind of a G around campus too, which you wouldn't like equate with the other things I just described him as. And then the girl, she helps me out a lot in class. So connections, like this is like the kind of networking that is going to help me in the future somehow, or I will help them again somehow. Like this is like my networking now. It's very interesting. I kind of could care less about the teachers. Sorry, you guys, but like, it's about the kids, you know, they're the coolest. Halloween last year was very fun. Again, very fun department. This is Gavin Chang. He is brand new to the school. He's actually is just finishing up his master's here. He is an animator like I have never seen, like not animation in the sense of like what we would do for like in graphic design realm, but like more illustrative animation. So inspiring, and his artistic background is so different than mine that he's just very, very inspiring to me. So I had to give him a shout out. And then Freddie Santana, this is the ceramics man. I have 11 more years with him before he retires, and I need to learn everything. I need to get a master's degree, Santana Masters, basically, because he's incredible. So he's taught me everything I needed to know about clay, basically. And if you guys could tell, like, I came from work today, like, this is my constant. I'm covered in clay all the time. Like, I'm like dirty girl constantly. And he's so supportive of that, and like he's pushing me to enter art shows and things like that. I love his work. It is very like graphic oriented, which is just really awesome. It's cool to see that incorporated into this medium that I kind of thought was all sculptures and vases and things of people that were like really serious or like, you know, different art than I was used to even seeing. And then we experiment with glazes, which is basically like the paint. And he's super inspiring to me. And I get to help him too. And that's why it's super cool. Like my graphic design education specifically helps to inform him in his art form because of how like graphic design oriented it is. And so there was one piece that he made, not one of these, but it's like the tallest piece he's made. He has like a big man on one side and he's like punching holes in it. And he's like, I don't know what else to do. And I was like, okay, you have a man, where's the feminine at? Like, put her on the back, do different shapes. And it's just like opened his mind up. So it's cool that there's like an exchange of creative energy there. And it doesn't stop either. It's like constant. There's just another awesome one. So these were from an art show that we were all in, actually, at Casa de Espanol, which is on R Street by the wall. And I have a few things. So it was a teacher show across the district. So I have some of my coworkers there and then some people from the other schools and things like that too. There was a really cool installation of ceramic hummingbirds behind us. But so just one more thing about this, like community is huge. So wherever you're at in your life, you're going to have different types of communities and you can have like 12 different interests and 12 different little communities. That's fine. You don't need to feel tied down to one specific thing. And what's so beautiful is that like people will always support your passions too, like unexpectedly. So don't be shy. Here's some just teaching pictures. This is kind of what my day-to-day looks like when we're throwing. This is what we've been doing this semester, and it is so insane. I saw a meme the other day. I see like teacher memes now, which is very unique. But it was like this. It said like when half your class is hand building at their tables, and then the other half is throwing on potter's wheels. And it was like this duck like going one way and then like going the other way, like repeat. And I was like, that is so me. The past 3 weeks have been so nuts, but like seeing what the kids do, I only have like so little to share with you today because I don't want to make it all about that, but it's crazy. Like, and throwing specifically is what teaches impermanence for the students and detachment, which throwing taught me specifically. Like I had told you, I was so attached to my design projects and things like that, my ideas, because I felt so I had this like huge, it was like an ego thing, huge ego and like value to my brain and all these ideas and all this stuff that like really like it doesn't really matter. Like even if it's not enjoyed, like I tell them like if they fail on the potter's wheel, like it's just dirt. Like you're gonna just get mad about dirt. That's like kind of pointless. We could just like do it again. So that kind of mentality, obviously with graphic design, it takes a lot more or different type of energy to input into it. But same thing. Throwing taught me that. So I try to teach my students that too. And it's crazy, like literally putting my hands like onto their hands, like, because you can explain something and show them, they're not going to fully get it until like you have to put the pressure on their hands so their hands learn that skill and that flow with the clay. And that's right now is like one of my favorite things is like doing that very, very gently. Like I'm not, the only time I really have to go for it is when we're centering because it's really hard. But just seeing them have that aha moment in the middle of doing it, like with you, like you get that instant, like, yeah, it worked moment. Like it's so great. And then it also like, it's like a diet, like a catapult for them. Like, cause they're just gonna, like, I showed you that little thing. Now you go, the world is your oyster. Go figure it out. So yeah. So now I'm gonna get into kind of a clay story of myself. Cause like I said, ceramics is not my thing. I believe wholeheartedly that it is what I was supposed to do this whole time. Which is weird because graphic design felt like the thing I was supposed to do this whole time. And then teaching kind of felt like that for a moment. And then the ceramic stuff kind of overshadows the feeling of teaching because that's just kind of becoming normal in a way. And I feel like every time I learn something with the clay, then I can immediately like teach them something too. So I have been like very, very, not as active, but very active in creating things. The thing on that side, what is that? Your left? That's just an indication that it doesn't always work out. It's just dirt. Throw it away. Try it again. Everything's fine. Or on the other side, it can be very nice and beautiful, and everything will work out the way you think it will. So this is such an important piece to me. This was my first I'm gonna make a vessel. I don't know what it's gonna be. I had no plan with this. I threw these on the potter's wheel in 5 different sections. So each of these chunks up there, were all 5 different sections. They were set off to the side. I was like, I don't know what to do with them. And then I was like, oh, you can just stack them and put them all together and call it one big piece. That's efficient. And so that's what I did. And then painted it all white. But I can't allow anything to be too perfect. So then I broke it with painting that black line on it. And then I did this super cool process called luster glazing. I hope the video works this time. I shared it with everybody in the world, so hopefully, let's try. So that's just to show that extra layer of that glaze that you put on it. It's a very particular type. So this is one of the first experiences I had in getting into more complex or complicated styles of creating this art, whether it be with the glazes or the more sophisticated joining of multiple pieces of clay. So yeah, I want just that blue to be the glaze, but that's not actually how it turned out. No, we don't need to see it again. Thank you though. So that's how it turned out. That luster glaze puts kind of like a holographic sheen or pearlescent, but bigger chunks of pearlescent. Pearlescent's so teeny tiny, all the different colors. This was bigger and it gradiated within those cracks. So each individual one of these little shapes would have their own little shiny gradient, and it still to this day blows my freaking mind because did that. It's just so weird. How, what, firing and all those things. Anyway, so this was my first big accomplishment piece. This was my baby. Showed it. God, I don't want to go ahead and then I'm gonna go back because I showed it at that at the show at the Casa de Español. It was called Cuentos, which means stories in Spanish. So I showed it there, and it was just this glowing beacon. And I also was awarded an honorable mention for it at my first show. So this was at the show before the Cuento show. But at the Cuento show, they broke it. Yes. Apparently they had to move things because they were having an art class in the little area where the gallery was. So they moved everything. The lady said she scooted the podium and then she walked away and heard it crash. And I was just oh, cool. Nice. They paid me, but they took the commission, which I was a little about that. because it was my first piece, you know, but again, that just like hammered in that feeling, that message of impermanence. It's just dirt, it's okay. Because literally I could go and remake that thing if I really wanted to. I have all the materials at my disposal and everything like that. So yeah, but it made it into 2 shows. That was 2 more art shows than I had really ever been in for ceramics. Like I had that little one, that student show way back in CRC days in like spring of 2017. So being in 2024 last year, that was like a pretty good gap of years. So I never really said that I was like an artist showing my work or anything like that before this artwork. So RIP. Thanks for coming and thanks for being there. It's called Nebula Obscura, so pour one out for you later. Okay, this is another version of that really interesting firing technique, or that like kind of more elevated technique beyond just doing the typical make, fire, glaze, fire, okay, good, you're goodbye, you're done. This is called the Japanese raku. So when it is at its peak temperature, you take the pieces out, and peak temperature being 1,857 degrees, take it out and you put it into a container with combustible material. And then it has all these like crazy mineral and chemical reactions with oxygen reduction and all this like, so I'm not sciencey or like, so a lot of these technical things I'm still trying to get down. But a lot of it's like earthen based too. So it's a lot of just mineral stuff. But yeah, it has this like crazy reaction when you take it out and put it in water. I think I have a little video, don't I? There you are. Maybe. Oh, okay. Yeah, we got that one. It is really hot. It's like really, really hot. And like staring at the sun, like shaking hands with the sun hot. It is, if we did it the other day really quickly, like during passing periods, oh my gosh, we had just had 2 pieces to make for a student show that's coming up. And yeah, it was, it's a hot experience, but it's cool. I've always loved fire. It's really exciting. So it's like fueling this different creative in me that I didn't really know was there. Back to this piece. This is another one that broke. This one I actually talked about last year here when I was starting to get into kind of incorporating graphic elements and things like that into my artwork. So I raku fired that one, and that one's also dead. So RIP. I did a little bit of after the firing addition to these over here. I added like little silver bits around it. So just using acrylic paint. Didn't know you could put acrylic paint onto ceramic after it was done. So just a little shiny sprinkle onto it. My first commission as a ceramic artist was a bougie hand. One of my campus security guards, her sister apparently is like super bougie, and she's like this, her sister's like not, she's like super down to earth, hella real, and she like came up to me, she's like, girl, I need you to make a bougie hand for me with his pinky out. And I was like, huh? What do you actually mean? She goes like this, and I was like, stingers up? She's like, no, what are you talking about? But so yeah, this was really cool. I like, that was my first time really sculpting something in that way. Like I had never made a hand. I've never drawn a hand. I have a hand. I have 2 hands even. Like I just didn't know what I was doing, but it was an indication of how like natural this stuff came to me. So that was really fun. And then now she like bought this like glass case, and it's like in her sister's house, like in a glass case like that. So big joke, super funny. I still smoke weed, so yeah, I made an ashtray. Shh, but it's been interesting trying to I can make the hell out of a thing in clay, right? I can sculpt like crazy. I sculpted these tiny little mushrooms one time. Painting is not necessarily my forte. So painting glaze, which glaze goes on to the clay after it's been fired, like a totally different color than it actually comes out. So I don't really know what I'm doing. But then it turned out fine. So it's just another kind of like mind warp thing. Just like, don't judge yourself while you're making things. Don't judge your work while you're making it. Don't get too attached. Don't be so emotional. I'm just an emotional girl though. So I've always been emotional about my things that I was passionate about. So it's been fun. Now kind of, this is not my own design type. I will just start there. But doing this for my brother and his wife for their wedding present, I just like impressed like type little chunks, little molds into the clay, and I was like, I'm gonna design vintage in the whole set and like do something. Now like I've only had these big ideas. I want to do like really unique like interactions between like that raku kind of naturalistic look and typography like on bases. So I feel like 30,000 like dream projects to do, but that one I'm going to be encountering probably end of summer this year, just so I can kind of get back to typography a little bit, which is my absolute passion within graphic design. And then the glaze, I use this like really special peacock glaze, which came out really nice. The red clay kind of shows through the letters in some places, so it has a really good complementary like contrast going on. Totally first time using that clay, totally first time doing all of these types of things. Did that extra luster with those two ring holders. Another opportunity for incorporating type into the clay, which was really awesome. It turned out really nice. They sent me a picture with their rings on it, which I should have put in, but I put so many pictures in here already. Love Halloween. I love spooky things. I love the color black. It's everything to me. So I found black clay. It's like the coolest thing. It looks like chocolate before it's fired, and it feels like satin butter. It is just my favorite experience ever working with it. So I made a bunch of ghosts because of course Halloween was happening. And then I saw somebody on TikTok making pumpkins by throwing them on the wheel. So I made pumpkins and I carved them. Yes, they came out cool, and even cooler, the black clay. So this is like such a personal favorite of mine. These are on my coffee table right now because it's Halloween 100% of the time in my house. Anybody know who that is? On the left, yes, Jack Skellington. Nightmare for Christmas. That's my stepdaughter's favorite movie. She's so cool. She's almost 4 and she loves it. Did a bunch of Christmas gifts that turned out really weird. Got this idea to do charcuterie boards because it would be easy. It's always just super easy, quick, and easy, right? It was all fine until I fired it the second time, the glaze firing. I put everything on stilts because I wasn't familiar with the glaze. I thought the glaze might run off and then the thing would get glued to the kiln shelf, basically. So I put everything on these little stilts so it wouldn't do that, and then they all like warped in different ways, which could be fun and cool. Totally not what I was going for. My mom still put her smoked salmon on during Christmas though, and I was proud of that. And this is another one. I found these texture rollers at the ceramic store, and so it's like this tiny little roller with this tiny little handle thing, and you just roll it into the clay, and then I put some just like little grassy looking scrapes into it. Love how the glaze turned out with all of that. Definitely one of my favorite things. It's a little jewelry holder I made, kind of prototyping some things. This glaze was really, really cool to use too. It's called Lavender Cloud, and it like pools together and like leaves lighter colors in different areas. You never know how it's gonna come out. So that's one of my favorite things too. You just pray to the kiln gods that everything will be fine. In this case, it was awesome. In the other case, right, where I put everything in like a stupid formation, was not cool. Yeah, anyways. Recently I've gotten into bowl throwing, mostly just because that's the throwing project for my ceramics 1 students. And so I was like, I gotta get really good at bowls, like really good at bowls. And so this is one of my favorite bowls ever. It's weird to be so like emotionally attached to a bowl. And I'll eat out of it, but I feel bad eating out of it. It's totally, you can totally like put it in the microwave, the oven, literally the dishwasher, like all these things, but I just like to break. Anyways, but using that, like creating that different lip or edge of the bowl has been something I've been trying to entertain as well. So just extending beyond what I've already learned. And then here's another example. This is a Japanese style of bowl. I should have taken a picture of the foot. The bottom of it is very unique, very different. First time doing these types of things. There is a little blemish and imperfect moment on it. It's like a little breakage, but that made the bowl like for me, because with throwing and things like that, you lose the human touch. And that's one of the coolest things about ceramics to me, is that like you can literally see human fingerprints in the clay sometimes. And so you lose that when things look, you know, not to toot my own horn, but so damn perfect like that. And then, so having that little break just made me happy, because I was like, a human made it, not a machine or something like that. And then just playing with more glazes and more bowls and more bowls and more bowls. Don't tell Pratt, but I'm going to bring this to him next week because I'm on spring break and I want to surprise him. Yeah. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about student work. I did do things a little bit differently this semester, and we've had more time on different projects than we did last year because of some issues with our clay like mixing machine. And so like the results have been ridiculous though. Like follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be nonstop like proud mom posting about all my student stuff, because it is like, I haven't had a chance to make anything like what they're making. And so it's so awe-inspiring, and like seeing them have these aha moments. And like, mind you, these are kids who like have never taken an art class, are in pathways for like physiology and like other things that aren't art. They're just not involved in art. They don't pay attention to art, nothing. And like, they're the most impressive things I've seen. Okay, not this kid. This kid is an artist. And she made this at home. And like, this thing is this big. It is an enormous dragon head. And it is so stunning and mind-blowing that she paper mache this thing. It's called Knight's Bounty. And that's about all I could possibly have to say about it. Like, she painted it after the fact. I didn't make her, but like I had her finish it for an art show, and she won the first place for it at the show, which we all knew she would, because oh my freaking god, it's so good. And I had her last year as a freshman in art class, saw her art stuff, and like she joined pretty late in the semester because she switched over from a different school. And so I actually didn't get her until like the full second semester in the spring. And I'm continuously like blown away by this kid. I will for sure be posting about her stuff. We're gonna, at the future art show that we're having on April 5th at CRC, plug, she's gonna have like her own art board with her process, you guys. Just her process. Just her process is so ridiculous. I don't have any pictures of it. That's why I didn't have it, of course. But like, she's in the animation class with Mr. Chang, who I showed you before, and it's just so insane. It's like, this is what I wish that I could have done while in this program specifically. Like watching her visually think about things, and it comes out naturally. This is just what she does. She doesn't. It's so fresh and like innocent because she doesn't understand the value of it yet, and like how much power she might actually have in the future. So seeing that and like cultivating it like it's an egg is just, it's a gift to me, you know. So yeah, Madison Tuman, she's a savage. Both of these are not artists. Both of these kids are so sweet. they're so like not into art whatsoever, but like they just have detail oriented minds that just allow them to create these things. So that starfish one, we did some very, very specific glaze processes with that, like things that I hadn't even done yet, that I was like, this would be cool. I know that we can do this, so let's do it. And so it's called staining, and that's what we did pretty much with the whole peacock base here. So yeah, and that girl, peacock girl, she got here in January. This is her first piece in my class, and like she's never taken art, doesn't care about it at all, nothing. And I was like, so I like helped her sculpt the head a little bit, just a little, like not even a lot. And like she brought this up to me and was like, is this okay? And I was like, who are you and what are you doing with the rest of your life? Because geez, you might have a gift. And then we consulted a really, really talented painter at the school who actually attended a summer program at CalArts last year's summer. And so her paintings and stuff are insane. So I will post her stuff too on the gram. But yeah, so we came up with that like ray kind of thing, and then the dark blue and blue-green kind of wrap around the whole back, and that texture wraps around the whole back. So it's just super impressive. It's just crazy to like watch these kids' minds get blown by themselves too, because they don't think their stuff is good. And then I'm over here like, yeah, we got to get this done this week. Art show submission is yesterday. We got to do it right now. Like, I'm like, what? You want this in the art show? Don't do it. And I'm like, no, we are. You're coming in after school. Like, I don't know. I'm very excited about them. But it's so cool because you never quite know like where they're gonna go. I believe in like if you see something good, like foster it. Why not? And only pay out. This kid. So I met him when I was substituting in my mom's class before I even started teaching. His name's Harrison. I did just post his little I don't even remember what he called it. The little gremlin guy over there on Instagram. But anyway, so he's never taken a ceramics class. I've taught him ceramics for maybe a whole hour's worth of time over the course of the last 2 years. And like that's what he's doing. It's just, and that's his drawing abilities are super, super ridiculous too. I showed one of his pieces last year. Did a self-portrait that was just blew me away. So his skills are only growing. He's a sophomore now. And so I feel super lucky still to be able to like help him understand himself as an artist and help him like see kind of like a grander scope. Like we just had a really deep talk the other day about like future. And I do always kind of bring it back to making money because like money's important. We have bills. The state of California is extremely expensive. Everywhere is expensive. That's just what it is. So money always comes into mind. But there's a lot of opportunity with that because it gives them a reason to make stuff and to explore things. So he is like super deep into animation stuff now. He took his first year of animation with Mr. Chang. And so this was us last year. This is that artwork that I showed last year, the self-portrait. So that was his first art show, which is the same one that's coming up in April 5th. And then that's his first like actual sculpture that he made. He definitely plays a lot of video games and like Star Fantasy type of stuff, but it's so original to him, and like he's created all these characters. I don't have enough proof of it to even dive deep into all that, but very excited for him. This is, I think, the last student piece. This is a rain stick, actually. It's like this tall. When you turn it, it makes like the rain sound. And student is from, or origin, like cultures from Russia. And so we are like in the process. So I've been helping her test print. I've been like back in Photoshop lately, like altering saturation for photos, for printing. It's a total mental throwback for me because of how many times I had to do that specific thing just to get something printed. But we're putting pictures of her family. So this has two sides. On the other side, there's another frame. So again, Instagram will have the final. And then I'm still doing a little bit of canvas work, doing just some rendering mock-ups. I didn't have the official most recent ones because I wasn't able to present them to the public yet, but just mock-ups. It's interesting. It's not nearly as like intensive as designing a full gig poster, which I would love to do again one day. So any questions about the kids or my art or anything?
Cool.
Yes.
Real quick, what made you go from like absolutely no, like I'm not becoming a teacher to wanting to like what was that switch basically?
So learning that they were teaching graphic design in high school, I was like, oh shit. I don't have to go to grad school for that. I just do like some other little things, which those were not little things. Oh my gosh, state of California. But yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So I went and like toured some schools and I was like, okay, like this wealthier, newer, I'll say newer school in my district has like a full Mac lab, just like in Mariposa. Insane. And that's not uncommon. Like they have that at other schools too. And I went to Christian Brothers. Private school doesn't care about the arts at all. And so there was nothing like that. And then knowing that like college had it, I was like, oh my God, this must be really sophisticated in some ways, you know? And so I talked to the teacher there and she's like super into design. And so it just kind of re-sparked my design vibes and fire and whatnot. And then I actually toured at the school that I'm teaching at right now first. And I was like, ooh, I don't like their design program. I don't really want to get into there. Saw the other one. I was like, I really want to go work there. And then that lady, she was actually like, well, as soon as you're all good and you're ready to go, like, we will make a job for you. You get on over here. And then I got the call from the principal and was like, hey, at the school I teach at now, and this was him like basically hiring me. He was like, hey, arts position's open. Come on in at this day. I walk in, I'm like, cool. Like, I heard you guys have a design program, right? Like, he goes, so we have 5 ceramics classes and 1 art class. What do you think? I was like, I guess we'll do it. I needed a job so bad. And so then like he sent me home with clay and a potter's wheel and like a bunch of art materials. I got curriculum from the other art teacher and just started practicing. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Like this is one, I like actually knew what I was doing, which I never thought I actually did. Something that I always felt in the program was like, anytime they asked me to draw something, I was terrified. I was like, don't you dare. I will trace all day. Give me that vellum. Like, I got you, but do not make me try. And now I can like actually just draw. And it just took like that much practice and that little bit. And then it just like, my whole world opened up in a grander sense. And I was like, oh my God, graphic design contributes to like the rest of my life. Like I don't have to say bye to this thing that I know that I love, that like the world made me hate in some ways, but like it was a culmination of like, yeah, like beginner's luck and just getting rid of imposter syndrome too, because I also just I didn't have time for it. And so, yeah, the teaching thing was mostly because I needed to make money. So I was like, I will start substitute teaching. And then it was like, okay, well, I could just become a design teacher. So then I just design all day. And like the way that design teacher that I met over at the cool school, even though my school is it's actually the coolest in the district. We have the best VAPA program of the whole district. I love that I ended up there. It's very serendipitous, you know, like I didn't want to do graphic design. I didn't want to do art. I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to be at this school. And like I'm like the happiest ever, very fulfilled and all those things. So yeah. Stop saying no. Don't say no. Just like try it out. Okay, so looking forward at some opportunities I'm having. I get to go back to school again. Yay. Not excited. Very excited to make more money though. That's basically the only reason why I'm doing that. School districts have a cool thing that you get paid more per year, but you also get paid more per like amount of school you have. And so up to a certain point, of course, they cap you. But so I'm just trying to get from like, I'm at first the first level of it, basically. The master's will bring me over like 6 levels, and then there's only like 3 or 4 more levels that I will need to go to until I make a reasonable amount of money. Still working overtime. This year I started teaching an extra art class, which has been so beneficial to my teaching within that class, because only having one opportunity to teach something is not enough. With ceramics, I have 5 opportunities to teach something. And by the like 3rd, 4th time, it's like no brainer to me. I've done it multiple times right before it. And so same thing with the art class. Like last year, I only had 1 opportunity to do it. Now I have 2 in the same day. So I can alter a lot. Even my like drawing skills from 3rd period to 5th period, like they get better, I think. Anyways, why did I start talking about that? I don't know. Oh, just like doing more for more money. Yeah. And then speaking of more money, ceramics production stuff to sell. So things like those bowls, the little jewelry holders. I have like, there's so many different things you can do. It's very simple. I'm going to bring a couple wheels home this summer. So I'm going to try to like secretly like do little like private lessons and stuff with people in my neighborhood, see how that goes. But yeah, just keep making stuff. And then I want to start incorporating graphic design into my vases a lot more. So challenging myself by throwing taller and bigger and more sophisticated vase shapes and things, and then integrating typography, and there's eyes. Specifically, I want to incorporate eyes like of different sizes. The way that you can sculpt an eye in like, you can sculpt it to where it's coming out, to where it's going in. It's super interesting to me. And so that's where I'm going to be going. I actually have an art show submission coming up that I'm going to be, it's in like 2 weeks, the 30th. So I got work to do for that. See if I can get it done. I'm going to start writing a high school level typography class so I can start teaching art, ceramics, and typography, specifically because we have a design pathway. So the students have the opportunity to start taking design courses as a sophomore, and then junior, senior, it just gets more and more advanced. They make stuff for like the theater program on campus and things like that. So super awesome. But I was looking at the posters and I was like, they could use some type lessons and it'll just make, open their doors a little bit bigger. And then I will go back again to school to get my career technical education certification. This will enable me to be very integrated into the design pathway, but I think I'm still I know for sure I'll still keep my ceramics big base because that has just been so much fun for me. I like getting to just go to work like kind of bummy and be covered in dirt all day. No one says anything, and it's very relaxed for me. And then I get to work on my own personal projects while the students work, and they learn from me, back and forth, all that stuff. But this CTE degree will get me paid more. Sorry, I sound super shallow going after all the money, but it's where it's at. And I have to do cool things to get there too. So it's interesting. I don't know how long that certification will take me, but that will kind of set me up for taking over different areas of my department in the future, just opening up more doors for me. So that vase thing that I want to do with the eyes is for the Feats of Clay. That's in Lincoln. So if I get into it, I will let you guys know to do the Instagram. And then Sanchez Art Center is in Pacifica. They have a show that you make 50 pieces. It's called 50 by 50. So you have like 50 pieces that are 6 by 6 kind of range. And so that's somehow I will make 50 pieces this year that are within that range. Anytime I try to actually, like, if I go to the potter's wheel and I'm like, I'm going to throw this specific thing that's like that, it never works. So it's going to give me an opportunity to work on that, build some consistency, making different smaller vases that are easier to kind of achieve and manage than like the bigger ones that I really want to get to making at some point. Then there's another one, which is more local. It's a 30 by 30 show, same idea. So hopefully I can get those done and get into that because I really enjoy showing. It's really fun. I got some festival things in Elk Grove coming up. It's super, they're bangers, just like you would imagine things in Elk Grove. Yep. The La Concha Festival is it's just a desserts festival on April 13th. Made a bunch of these are like little tiny conchas. So I'm gonna paint them, sell them, make some money. I'm gonna make a bunch of coasters. Open to ideas as well. Just kind of going for like quick, unique things that people can just put in their homes really easily, so they want to pay for it. And then there's another thing 2 weeks after that, the Festival of the Arts. So the Festival of the Arts in Elk Grove, we actually take a ton of students and a ton of student work. And the students will be will be showing, and then we'll have students teaching the public on the potter's wheel as well. That is super cool. When you see the ones that you teach, just proud. For so much pride, my proud mom. And then incorporating illustration into my designs, which is so scary for me because like I said, I never considered myself an artist. So during the time in which I was creating design stuff, like I wasn't drawing my things, but like I drew that and I'm proud of that. And it was just a sketch. This is going to be like a very large, the skull with a candle sticking up that way and a candle down. And so it's actually going to be a t-shirt design. And my friend is having me do it. And he was like, yeah, no budget, no timeline, just figure it out. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go really hard on this. I'm going to make you an art piece and a shirt design. And so still in the works of that, but very excited to accomplish that as soon as I possibly can, whenever that is. All right, so general 3 things to remember about just in your life from me. Go with the flow. Go with your flow. Whatever everyone else's flow is, not yours, just go with yours. Okay, you're on the right path no matter what. My favorite part of like my story and my journey is like how all of these things, everything I went through with design, everything I did, everything I created, it all contributed into what I'm doing now. Like I didn't know how significant design would be in this job as a teacher, but like I got to make handouts and I got to make agendas and I need to make sure these things make sense to the kids. I need to make sure that they see the right thing the first time and all this stuff. So like totally informs all of that. And so if you're worried about your path, just don't. Everything will work out. Okay. Don't stop creating. Try new mediums if you're feeling uninspired. Something that happened to me in the design program. I felt uninspired during my design corporate design jobs. Like I felt uninspired. If I were to have tried drawing in a sophisticated way, maybe X, Y, and Z, And so I only kind of discovered that through my forced into learning art so I could teach it timing. And it's helped me find a new love and admiration for design in a very significant way. And then the last thing, trust that process. Always trust the process, okay? The process knows way better than you, I promise. It's okay if you're scared. Just tell that little scared version that, nope, not today, scared me. I'm gonna trust the process and just go with it. Because I didn't do that a lot. And I was so stressed that whole time. I hated it. I was like all types of negative energy, right? And that's necessary. So I could learn these lessons and then be able to come back in a way to share this type of stuff with you guys. So yes, my message is very much the same as from a year ago. It's because it's still very, very, very real for me. These 3 things I remind myself to do frequently because of how easy it is for that scared little me to pop up and say, nope, you can't do it or whatever. Just like, stop. You're gonna trust the process. It's fine. All right. Thank you for letting me talk to you for an hour and 18 minutes. Oh my goodness. So almost a whole class period. class. Any questions?
Which professors did you have for your junior and senior year?
Junior and senior year, I had Pratt and Timothy Hurrell, which he doesn't teach here anymore. Had Young senior spring, which was rough when we went digital. She's freaking a powerhouse, though. I love her. I had man. She teaches at Davis.
Oh, Marcy.
No, I didn't have her. I had the guy instead of her, but she's one of my favorite people. Her and I are way overdue on lunch date. If you're watching, I'm gonna come back and we're gonna finally have lunch this June. It's been like 2 Junes ago that we were supposed to do this, but yeah. I was gonna try to come crash the class sometime next week when I come see Pratt. So I would text you, Tyler. Whatever's going on. Who else did I have? Why can't I remember her name? She's super Ruben. Marissa. Yeah, Marissa Rubin. She was cool. She made me cry. Yeah, so I had Tim and Pratt for type that year. Yeah, okay, so I had Tim twice. I had him for type 1 and then Pratt for type 2, and then I had him for UX design. Esioko doesn't teach the upper divisions. And then Forrest was still department chair. I know he's teaching portfolio now, which I'm jealous of. But that's amazing. But yeah, I think that's it. If I'm missing anybody, sorry, my memory skips. Yeah, Pratt for sure will forever be like, he was my first like real arts mentor, I would say. He's the one that helped me with the skateboards and stuff like that. And so he's just a rock star. And like I said, like I love typography, I think because of his way of teaching, his love for typography. The first time I ever saw like some of his art that he created, I don't think it was in college. I think it was after his college, but like he had like these very like light flowing vines and leaves or flowers, very like naturalistic elements with freaking letters in it. I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. I've never seen anybody do that. Like it moved me in such a way. I was just, yeah, so I love type. Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
So you jumped around like a bunch of different careers.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Just like throughout your lifetime. Is there like something that you pull from like, I don't know, your time at like a bakery that you're able to incorporate in new stuff? When you're trying out new mediums, when you're trying out new like play stuff.
So physical consistency. That sounds very strange, but that is a thing. Like dough and clay are like not at all the same thing. You can't handle them the same, but like it gives kind of that like primalistic, it itches that scratch in that way. Like that's what, like I've always been a very physical person. Like I did weightlifting for a long time. I was very proud, big, strong and stuff like that. And so getting in the bakery and being like the strongest, tiniest girl in there and like just lifting these huge containers of dough up and like frozen boxes of fruit, just carrying them stacked high. I was like, this is amazing. Like that doesn't apply to art whatsoever. But kind of in the clay realm, like a lot of my lesson prep is making clay. Like it's a half-time physical labor job. That's another reason why I wear Dickies every day now, is because like I'm working, like I'm in the manual labor kind of state most of the time. If I'm not like standing in front of people, you know, but like it takes a lot of muscle and familiarity with that material too. So I would say like getting used to different pressures that you can apply with dough, with cakes, frosting things, using your grip in a different way, like definitely transferred a lot because I was just kind of ready to try something new with my body in the way. Yeah. And then some of my students make cakes. They literally bring in piping stuff. We blend up the clay in a certain way to where it has enough water so it's watery enough so they literally piped birthday cakes for each other. It's so adorable. I used to be a bakery, guys. Yeah, pet store doesn't really apply so much. I think baking was probably the most generally creative job I ever had, besides any job that was like a design intern or working for the lab or something here. I worked for the library gallery for a time. But yeah, I only did the bakery because my dad used to stop there like on our way home from duck hunting up in Chico area. Like, he was like, "Oh, you're living up here. You should go check this out." And I like, it was so far away. It was so not what I should have been doing, but like, it was I met some really amazing people there, like younger people too, which I hadn't interacted with anybody below the age of 18 in forever, having worked at cannabis industry stuff that's 21 and over constantly. And so that was kind of like my little get my feet wet and like interacting with young people. It all seems like it's just a very gradual, like the pet store kind of opened me up to more of that too. There was a lot more children around. And then I ended up in classroom, so yeah. But yeah, I wish that baking transferred a little bit more, because something I do have to tell the students, like when you do the first process of preparing the clay, you wedge it, and they just immediately go in like cats when kneading the dough. It's like, that's not, it's what's intuitive to our bodies, but that's what's so cool about clay, is that you have to change what's intuitive to your body. It's like learning how to ride a bike with different types of wheels in a way. And then once you get it, it's like it's never gone. Any other questions? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much like endless possibility, right? Like I'm gonna eventually write that typography class, so I could, if I end up hating ceramics for whatever reason in a short time, like I can completely change content focuses. I can go back to school and get a history degree if I really for some reason wanted to do that, you know. I can also not be in the classroom. I can become like an arts education support person in a different capacity. I really want to get a little PE degree or PE credential so I can teach yoga, just so I can have an excuse to do yoga in the middle of my day. So yeah, there's just like a whole lot of different things that I can do that the kids don't always make it easy on me. Oh my goodness, the audaciousness, the age is very, it's exhausting. It's very like mentally, emotionally exhausting. I will get through a day of teaching 4 lessons in a row and just be like dead. But I'm never like, fuck this, you know. It's, I might be like, fuck that kid, but like I don't actually mean it, you know. They're just being a jerk to me for whatever reason, or asking me stupid ass questions. I like, don't waste my time with that. But with all that being said, like I love it so much, because even with like 9 out of 10 interactions being that, then I get to have that one interaction that's that girl with the dragon head or the boy with the crescent moon gremlin face head, like that just dissolves all the shit, and it just is like, it's the light, you know. So I don't love my commute. That's kind of my only thing with it right now. But I also don't ever, I will never live in the same zip code as my students, because I like to, I'm a stoner, and I like to go into the park and smoke some weed. I don't want to run into my kids. It's so weird. I don't even like going to the grocery store. Sometimes I'll like go out with the teachers after school. I'm like, we run into students. And like, that's what my whole growing up was, right? My mom, we lived 3 minutes from the schools that she taught at, and like the school that my sister and my brother went to for elementary school. And everywhere we would go, we would see multiple people. And like, I don't know, I'm very introverted. As extroverted as I am, like I am like, sometimes I'm like, no, don't look at me. So, but yeah, there's just ways I can structure my life. And then I think that even if I get to a certain point in public school teaching, I might want to get out of it before my retirement or whatever. But that's really where unfortunately, that's really where the money is at. I'm sorry, I keep going back to that. I don't like that I do, but like it's cool for teachers. So I just have to work till I'm 61 and a half, then I can go live my life. It's absurd. But like, that doesn't necessarily have to tie me to it. I can cut my contract whenever I want. If I'm at that place to get there. But then I could go like teach at a rural school. I could teach ceramics at a rural school, or I could go teach adult classes. There's ceramic studios all over the place. I could get my master's in ceramics, which I do want to come back and do within 10 years or so, depending on the CTE degree and the typography stuff, depending on how that's going to take me. But then that would just enable me to teach in different facets. I think I was just meant to be a teacher. And Pratt is really the one that showed me that, as much as my mom tried to. I think I just was like, you're putting your dreams on me, stop. Pratt like watched me in a GRIDS crit meeting where I just like went boom, 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 like 12 different things. And he was just like, you know how to communicate this. Like, you can't either, what did he say specifically? Like, not everybody can just articulate something for someone to get. Like, I'm able to read the person and say something enough different times. And that's where creative problem solving comes in for me every single second of the day, because I make a million of these conversations every single day for these students because they never remember what I say. So I'm constantly saying all the things, but like coming up with a different way so it finally clicks. And I was able to do that with all of those different people. And like Pratt watched me do it. He was like, dude, like, you should consider being a professor. Like, he knew I was very anti like teacher because my mom and stuff already. And so that's why he was like, be a professor. Like, you can communicate these things. You know how to articulate something for somebody to understand in a specific way. Right. And like the fact that it took that long and GRIDS was the thing that showed me that, and that, ooh, I got chills from that. But like, that is so cool to me. Like, that's why I'm going to give him a bowl next week. He's great, you know, like to show me that, which now came into play 5 years and down the line for me in my life. Like, I didn't know that. And he articulated something in a specific way for my brain to get it. So it's that same thing. What was your question?
I have a question. Comments. I think being able to see like the highlight reel of your education and career is so interesting when you talk about your time here, getting kind of like really into packaging design, doing skateboard, looking at the canvas, doing packaging for that, and just doing that every conversation. I can tell that you have such a passion and like a synergy of physical processes and physical objects. And I just love how beautifully that manifested into what you're doing now with so yeah.
I love how you articulated that. That's for sure how I feel. Like, I never looked at it from all the way back then till now. I just kind of knew that I had a knack for the physical. Like, I always known I love paper. My business card feels so nice. Like, yeah, like, but I didn't know it would translate like this. And like, not to like, again, toot my own horn, but the way that it translates is astonishing to me. Like, and I just, maybe that's some like, I need more belief in myself, but like having the opportunity even to get to play in the capacity that I do really helps me just tap into that frequently. And yeah, it shows. And like the stamp right here, like that is a physical wax stamp. My like end of senior years, like whole thing was to have modern correspondence, where I was gonna mail people these elaborate ass resumes that were wax sealed, and it would open one way and then it would open another, and all the paper felt different, and like, chill. You know, like, that's not the world we live in anymore. It's so funny. It's so funny. But like, you know, now it's like the world that I made it my world. Like, I made three-dimensional art my world. Like, my kitchen is full of my shit. Like, I have so many damn bowls. My husband is like, when we get some other things, I'm like, I'm still working on bowls, okay? But that is still special too. Like, my little stepdaughter, she'll be like, Mama L, did you make this bowl? Yeah, I did. Oh, it's so cool, so cool. Thank you for saying that. All right, anything else? Thoughts, goods?
We have no other questions, last round. All right, well, let's give a warm round of applause. More about what you're up to, what your students up to, where should they find you at?
L_DU.ART. Yes, at the Instagram. The Instagram I keep talking about. My proud mamagram, my teachergram. Yeah. So luckily, like my last name is Duarte. It doesn't look like it's pronounced that, and none of my students can pronounce it like first thing. So I get to lead into everything I do with a dad joke and say, "This is an art class. You do art in Miss Duarte's class." And that's usually my mic drop. And they're like, "What?" Yeah. But yeah, that's Instagram. So L_DU.ART. Yeah. Follow me, please. I've been saying for years that I'm gonna post on my Instagram, but like I'm getting into it again because I want to show the students off so much because they're so worth it. And then I'm also making stuff that I want to post to the world, and I want to be connected to you guys too. I did want to pose an opportunity to come to my school and talk to the Design Pathway kids. Fong did it last year. So if anybody's interested in doing that, we're thinking like 1, 2, a little clump of y'all can come, maybe a little field trip to a public high school. Will be fun for you. But yeah, if you're interested in like throwing or just working with clay, even afterwards, like I'll have my classroom open for you guys. So you can come hang out. I can teach you something, whatever we want. So yeah. But again, thank you so much for having me. This is really, really special for me to again come back. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, we're happy to have you. Let's give her one more round of applause. And thank you everyone for attending today. Couldn't be busy without you guys, so I appreciate it greatly. Tomorrow we're having origami folding as our workshop, so come in, get a craft, all some crazy stuff. Instructions laid out for you guys to follow, or if you're like a crane expert, like we got paper for you guys. So that would definitely be like a nice chill work. Yeah, thank y'all for coming. I'll see you guys.
I'm a crane expert.
Yeah.
I was here last year. Yeah. Yeah, I made him some program, and that was I was there. Yeah, same ratio. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I meant to.
Yeah, that was such a spectacle. Yeah, how's it going?
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's insane. Yeah.